Here's the question we put to the American public: who is the main person who speaks for the Republican Party today, and who is the main person who speaks for the Democratic Party today? Let's look at the results. First of all, over half of Americans can think of no one who speaks for the Republican Party. That's illuminating in and of itself and speaks to the vacuum of leadership that the GOP finds itself in today, when over half of the people can't come up with a single name they think speaks for that party. On the Democratic side, over 80% of Americans can name somebody, and not surprisingly, overwhelmingly, that's Obama, the president. Naturally, since he's in the White House, his name comes to mind as the chief spokesman for the Democratic Party. Let's hone in on the Republicans in a little more detail. Here are the names of the individuals that did come to Americans' minds. 3 were at the top of the list. Rush Limbaugh. 13% of Americans say the conservative talk show host speaks for the Republican Party more than name any other single person. Limbaugh is followed by former Vice President Dick Cheney, then by John McCain and Newt Gingrich at 6% each. George W. Bush, the man who was president and of course the chief Republican up until January of this year, mentioned by only 3% of Americans. Let's look just at Republicans for a moment. This is a real key because this is an indication of whom Republicans themselves say is the main spokesperson for their party. Big problem for the Republicans. Almost half, 47% of Republicans themselves, these are Republicans and Republican leaners, can't think of anybody who is the main spokesperson for their party. Who do they come up with in terms of specific names? Well, 3 people tie essentially: Rush Limbaugh, Dick Cheney, and Newt Gingrich, followed by John McCain. Almost no Republicans mentioned George W. Bush himself. Just by way of balance, let's look at what Democrats say about the Democratic Party. 67%, 2/3, off the top of their head say Barack Obama. That's really not as of much interest because with the White House and the Senate and the House in their hands, the Democrats apparently do have the perception of a strong leader, and that is, of course, the president. An interesting insight: who do Democrats name as the main spokesperson for the Republican Party? Cross perceptions here. Well, it is none other than Rush Limbaugh, named by 18% of Democrats, then followed by Dick Cheney, and a man that some people say is going to think about running for the presidency in 2012. Well, Gingrich is mentioned by only 4% of Democrats. He apparently is off their radar. When we ask Republicans who they think speaks for the Democratic Party, of course Obama wins, but look at this interesting distinction. 20% of Republicans name Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. She's mentioned by a much smaller percent of Democrats. So we've got, in terms of cross perceptions, Democrats saying that it is Rush Limbaugh who speaks for the Republican Party, Republicans saying Obama, but then Nancy Pelosi speaking for the Democratic Party. I'm Dr. Frank Newport, editor-in-chief of the Gallup poll.